Hey everybody. To Today is Sunday, and it be 28th day of April 2024, and this is my training vlog. Day 165 of Operation Great Reset. Build Back Better. Wheelchair Roadwork. You will have nothing. You will own nothing. But you will be happy. I'm Charles Lanson, your happiness guide. And today going to be continuing. Again, a little bit of training news. As you can tell, those of you who are regular viewers can tell I'm still at Mom's, doing my thing. And so I still haven't really got ballsy enough to try going out in the street and going up over that curb and whatnot, just 'cause I hurt my shoulders. A couple months back. That's why I initially had this hiatus. So I'm just trying to get my shoulders back in shape, build some strength before I try and get up over that curb, because that's what ended up happening last time. I pulled something coming out of my apartment. I did pop the wheelie coming up over my door jamb, and I don't know, man. I heard something pop in my right shoulder, and it was horrible. But so I'm still kind of recuperating from that, and that was, going on. I think we're getting pretty close to 3 months now. So anyway, still training here at Mom's. I just plan on doing once again laps in the driveway here, but I figured it would be good vlog fodder, good content fodder to go ahead and keep doing my continual, in-depth, ongoing analysis and exploration of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Again, I'm getting all this from my X page and my blog as well. If you'd like to check that out, my blog, I'll put some links down in the description for my blog and for my X page. And basically what I was doing, I was sort of just doing a pictorial, I guess you could call it a pictorial analysis of in tweet format. That was my original intention, just to sort of go through do an analysis of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, just by throwing out tweets and then showing little charts and diagrams and graphics that I stole, or that I or did a little Dadaism type. Not really stole, it's an homage. It's Dadaism. I'm taking other people's artwork and making it my own. So making it a form of my own artistic expression. And but So anyway, I started doing that on X a while back, and then I started doing it on my blog, and I thought it would be a good idea to just sort of go over and sort of meld it all together and start covering what I did on my X page and my blog, start talking about that on my videos. It would be all three of these different media would be a very effective way to not only teach, but to be taught and learn better the principles and the 7 habits of highly effective people. So, that being said, I wanted to start off by talking a little bit about what got this started, and that was the first habit of highly effective people, of Stephen Covey's 7 habits of highly effective people. The first habit is be proactive. Okay, and I know if you're not familiar with this term or management lingo or business type lingo, it can be a little like, or even if you are familiar with it, I know when I first came across this material back in 2016, I wasn't quite sure, well, what does proactive mean exactly? Well, we'll be talking about that in this video and probably the next couple of videos as well. But anyway, so that's the first habit. One of the things he espouses when he's discussing the first habit is doing what he calls a 30-day proactive test, which is basically you just try to practice these principles of proactivity, which I will be covering. So you try to cover these principles or apply them in your day-to-day life. Just try to do that for 30 days and see what kind of difference it makes. So that was kind of how I started off this whole project. And this was back in 2016, the first time I did it. I was going through a pretty rough time in my life, and I thought maybe a self-help type book would help me out. I just happened to have this book sitting on my bookshelf. I'd gotten it like 5 years prior to that, but never got around to actually reading it. Always meant to. And I thought, also at the same time, I was really wanting to, for a couple of years, I've been meaning to sort of get more serious about my blog and start working on that a bit. And my main intent was just to work hard on it for like 5 years and see what came of it. But so I thought, well, this is a good idea. Maybe I'll do this 30-day proactive test, and I'll write about it on my blog. So I figured that would be a good way to hold myself accountable. And so fast forward, I did that, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I think I learned a lot about myself, and my blog, within 30 days, I was satisfied with the results. Even with my blog, I thought, it did seem to help things out. So fast forward to about, I don't know, 75, almost 80 days ago. I kind of wasn't satisfied with, I've been on Twitter/X since 2010. I don't know, I just kind of used it every now and then to promote various little projects I have, and never really took it too seriously, but I just thought, well, man, I'm gonna try kind of same sentiment I had with my blog. I was like, well, I'm gonna try and be a little bit more proactive about my Twitter X presence. And let's see what happens if I apply the 30-day proactive test to X. So I came up with this little project called the X 30-day proactive test. I have since, I really enjoyed it, and I've gone beyond the 30 days. So I just changed the name to the X proactive test. So those of you who are following along on Twitter, might be wondering, well, where this whole idea came from. Well, lo and behold, there you go. There you have it. It came from Stephen Covey. And so anyway, so I started doing this X 30-day proactive test, I don't know, back about 80 days ago. And so now I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about the X 30-day proactive test. Once again, I'm sort of taking this from this material. I'm taking this from my Twitter X page, and also from my blog. So once again, yeah, if you guys want to check that out, my blog is at charleslanson.blogspot.com, and I'm just at Charles Lanson on X, so you can, it's all right there too. So alright, so let's go ahead and get this shindig started. And I'm going to be talking a little today. I'm going to talk a little bit more, explain what the 30-day proactive test actually is, and talk some more about proactivity, the first habit. And I'm hoping to sort of get us caught up with where I am with these videos. You can be caught up with where I am on my Twitter and blog. So, alright, so let's talk about the 30-day proactive test, shall we? Oh, shoot, did not mean to do that. Oh, okay. I didn't mean to do that. Come on. Stop. I was all queued up and ready to go too. And I messed it up, man. It was all queued up and ready to roll. Come on. Come on. Oh, sir. Oh. Alright, so here we go. Oh, shoot. Okay. Alright, so here we go. Proactivity. The 30-day test. The 30-day proactive test is a challenge that involves recording your actions every day for 30 days to demonstrate proactivity. So anyway, you might want to try this at home. It's a very, very good exercise. Proactivity is the act of thinking and acting to prepare for, intervene in, or control expected events, especially negative or challenging ones. Being proactive can help you dictate your position and give you a sense of control over situations. Here are some tips for being more proactive. Okay, I got some people coming here. I want to look like a psychopath. Hello. So here are some tips for being more proactive. Set concrete, realistic goals. Prioritize preventative and maintenance resource measures. Focus on one thing at a time. Let go of things outside of your control. Take initiative instead of waiting for someone else. Reflect on your decisions. Here are some examples of 30-day challenges. The 30-day challenge. Try something new, different, healthy, fun, or even crazy every day for 30 days. Such as, i.e., do an X 30-day proactive test every day. My original intention was not to start doing an analysis of Covey's work. My original intention was just to do like the 30-day proactive test, sort of title it like that. I always, whenever I'm creating content, I always like to create these long drawn-out series of things, deep dives, call them what you will, but anyway, I plan on titling, like each one, like day one of the X 30-day proactive test. And then my original intent was just to post whatever cool pictures that I found online, and maybe putting some kind of stupid caption, or creating clever memes, or putting up one of my favorite music clips or YouTube clips, what have you. Just doing that for every day for 30 days. So that was just an example. You can also just look up 30-day proactive test online, Google it, and there's a bunch of really good examples. But anywho, so eliminate clutter. Try it for 30 days. Just try eliminating clutter. Clutter from your desk or workstation. Work only on your circle of influence. Things you can directly change. That's what circle of influence means. We'll be talking a little bit more about that in a bit. Admit mistakes and correct and learn from them within this 30-day proactive test. Don't make excuses. Hold yourself accountable. Okay, that's something I could use work with. I guess we all could, but anywho. Making and keeping commitments. This is another thing you might want to try within the 30-day proactive test. Okay. So, commitments are promises, and keeping promises is vital to building trust, whether that's with another person or with yourself. Here's a quote from the man himself, the man, the myth, the meatball, the late, great Stephen Covey. As we make and keep commitments, even small commitments, we begin to establish an inner integrity that gives us the awareness of, I just want to read this before I go out, the sun. It's kind of small. The awareness of self-control. Okay, take it from the top. Quote, Stephen Covey, as we make and keep commitments, even small commitments, we begin to establish an inner integrity that gives us the awareness of self-control and the courage and strength to accept more of the responsibility for our own lives. By making and keeping promises to ourselves and others, little by little, Our honor becomes greater than our moods. End quote. Hello.
Are you coming in about 10:30?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just gonna jump in the shower if you're coming in at 10:30.
So, here are some tips for making and keeping commitments. Know your commitments. Identify any unfulfilled commitments in a project or relationship. Set clear goals. Set clear goals. Create steps, tasks, and timelines to complete each milestone. Goals that add value to your life will be more meaningful and help you complete them. Stay accountable. Take responsibility for your actions. Track progress and stay committed to achieving goals. Balance your commitments. Make sure your commitments include work, play, health, growth, and outreach. Evaluate your commitments. Consider whether you need to unwind some of them. Be willing to say no. Choose your projects or relationships carefully and be willing to politely say no. The other end of the stick. In The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen R. Covey uses the phrase, the other end of the stick, to describe the principle of sowing and reaping. He explains that you can't just pick up one end of a stick, and that every action and choice has a consequence. For example, you can choose how to act, but you can't choose the consequences. You can think of an action and its consequences as opposite ends of the same stick, and that when you pick up one end, the other comes with it. In general, when you act according to your principles, you'll experience positive consequences. Habit 1, be proactive. The other end of the stick. Proactive approaches. Acknowledge the mistake instantly. Again, I'm going to have to come in here. This print's a little small. Okay. Habit 1, be proactive, the other end of the stick. Positive approaches. Acknowledge the mistake instantly. Correct and learn from it. This literally turns failure into success. Success is the other side of failure. Cover-up empowers first mistake results even deeper injuries. It's not others or our mistakes that hurt us, but it's our response. It's like chasing a poisonous snake that has bitten us. Here's an example of how the other end of the stick works. Pick up one end. Take responsibility for your choices. Pick up the other end. understand that all choices have consequences. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People emphasizes proactive thinking, prioritization, effective communication, collaboration, and personal growth. Alright. The haves and the bees. One way to determine which circle our concern is in is to distinguish between the haves and the bees. Now, what he's referring to here is what he's referring to here is Covey maintains that we have things in our lives that we have direct control over. And these are things that are within our circle of influence. Circle of concern are things we do not have such direct... Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to be... I guess... Maybe I should try to okay, I'm going to... Yeah, I think I got a little bit ahead of myself on that one. Let me come back here and define a little bit what a circle, what these circles actually are. Okay, so okay. Okay. Circle of concern / circle of influence. So, one way we have to become self-aware regarding our own degree of proactivity is to look at where we focus our time and energy. Now, we each have a wide range of concerns: our health, our children, problems at work, the national debt, nuclear war. We could separate those from things in which we have no particular mental or emotional involvement by creating a circle of concern. So, as we look at those things within our circle of concern, it becomes apparent that there are some things over which we have no real control, and others that we can do something about. We could identify those concerns in the latter group by conscribing them within a smaller circle of influence. So the things, yeah, we have more direct control of, such as, what was that again? Our health. Let's see. Oh. Yes, okay. Our health, children, problems at work, okay, but anyway, let's keep this moving. So, I'll just, if it all seems a little confusing right now, as I continue with this video, I'm going to explain all this in more detail. So, it will all make sense by the end of this video, I promise. Or by the end of the next video or the one after that. So anyway, yeah, so concern. Alright, so by determining which of these two circles, the circle of concern or the circle of influence, is the focus of most of our time and energy, we can discover much about the degree of our proactivity. Okay, let me just... Okay. So, proactive focus. Positive energy enlarges the circle of influence. Proactive people focus their efforts in the circle of influence. They work on the things they can do something about. The nature of their energy is positive, enlarging and magnifying, causing their circle of influence to increase. Once again, if you want to take a look, there's some pictorial representations of these. Just go to my blog. You can look this up online at Google Circle of Influence, Circle of Concern, or you can just go to my blog and in the search field type in Circle of Influence or Circle of Concern, or you can just go to my X page. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about the reactive focus. Negative energy reduces the circle of influence. Reactive people, on the other hand, focus their efforts in the circle of concern. They focus on the weakness of other people, the problems in the environment, and circumstances over which they have no control. Their focus results in blaming and accusing attitudes, reactive language such as "I can't," or "if only I could do this or that," or, well, you get the idea. And increased feelings of victimization. Victim mentality is a perfect example of reactive behavior or the reactive attitude. So the negative energy generated by that focus, combined with neglect in areas they could do something about, causes their circle of influence to shrink. Moving on. Direct, indirect, and no control. The problems we face fall in one of three areas. Direct control. Problems involving our own behavior. Indirect control. Problems involving other people's behavior. Or no control. Direct control problems are solved by working on our habits. These are the private victories of habits 1, 2, and 3. So again, first habit is be proactive. The second habit, which we discussed in the last video, is begin with the end in mind. That's all about this notion of sort of creating a vision or visualizing where you want to go and what you want to do and what you want to accomplish before you begin a project. And habit 3 is put first things first, which we'll be talking about in a future video. So anyway, and these all contribute to what is called private victories. So direct control problems, again, direct control are problems involving our own behavior are solved by working on these first three habits. And these are private victories. Indirect control problems, which again, these are problems involving other people's behavior, are solved by changing our methods of influence. These are the public victories of habits 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so habits 4, 5, and 6. Let's see. Okay. Let's see here. Do not recall habits 4, 5, and 6 offhand, but these are all related to dealing with other people's behavior and using our influence to sort of so right, let's see here. Habit 4 is think win-win. Okay, that's all about negotiating with people. Habit 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Habit 6 is synergize, basically learning to collaborate and work with people. And all three of these, once again, are public victories, and they lead to successful interdependence with people. The first three habits, again, habit 1, be proactive. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Habit 3, put first things first. Create our private victories. This takes us from a state of dependence to a state of independence. Once we have the state of independence, the next highest phase in the continuum of maturity is interdependence. That's being able to work with others, to synergize, to achieve our goals, to be a good functioning part of society. Okay, so that being said, no control problems involve taking the responsibility to change the line on the bottom of our face, to smile, to genuinely and peacefully accept these problems and learn to live with them, even though we don't like them. Alright, now let me back up here. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. Oh. Okay. Alright. Okay, so moving on, come on. Alright, so moving on. Alright, so expanding the circle of influence. Expanding your circle of influence is a way to increase your ability to influence the world around you and achieve your goals. You can do this by taking such actions as 1. Prioritizing actions. Be proactive and focus on your circle of influence. 2. Creating an action plan. Determine what you can do about your concerns and how to address them. 3. Making a list of concerns. Identify... 3. Making a list of concerns. Identify what concerns you and organize them as important, petty, or things you can change. Can change or can? Okay. Developing a growth mindset. Stay curious. Keep learning. And turn obstacles into opportunities. You can imagine your circle of influence as the smaller circle within your circle of concern, which encompasses everything that affects you. With time and consistent effort, you can grow your influence to include concerns that you previously had no influence over. Here are some other actions you can take to expand your circle of influence. Build strong relationships, develop new skills, and seek out opportunities for growth. Moving on. Moving on. Alright, so which brings us to the haves and the bees. The haves and the bees. One way to determine which circle our concern is in is to distinguish between the haves and the bees. Okay, so we got the circle of concern, all things that affect us. The circle of influence, things over which we have the most direct control. The circle of influence is filled with the bees. I can't. Okay, so the bee. Boy, with that, what he means is, okay, the bees. I can be more hardworking. I can be more creative. I can be more cooperative. I can be focused, etc. Those are, so that's the basically what the circle of influence. Things we have direct control over, our own behavior. The bees. So, now the haves. One way to determine which circle our concern is in is to distinguish between the haves and the bees. The circle of concern is filled. The circle of concern is filled with the haves. Okay. Right. I'll be happy when I have the house paid off. If I had more, what was this? Yeah, okay, I gotta. Alright, I can't really. I'm gonna have to. Okay, so some examples of has. I'll be happy. Oh, yeah, let's see. I'll be happy when I have my house paid off. If I had more obedient kids, if I have my degree, if I could just have more time to myself. The bees are within the circle of influence, is filled with the bees. I can be more patient, be wise, be loving. It's the character focus. The haves and the bees. The circle of concern is filled with the haves once again. I'll be happy when I have my house paid off. If only I had a more patient husband. If I had more obedient kids. If I had my degree. If I could just have more time to myself. Okay, so that's all in the circle of concern. Moving on. Oh, cool. Alright, so. Yeah, I am just about. Okay, so. Let's talk a little bit more about proactivity. We want to talk about listening to our language. Alright, so. Might wrap things up after this. I don't know, we'll see. No. Oop. Alright, so listening to our language, because our attitudes and behaviors flow out of our paradigms, if we use our self-awareness to examine them, we can often see in them the nature of our underlying maps. Our language, for example, is a very real indicator of the degree to which we see ourselves as proactive people. The language of reactive people absolves them of responsibility. For example, reactive people say things such as, I'll try, whereas a proactive person will say, I'll do it. Proactive language, proactive people will say, that's just the way I am. Whereas a proactive person will say, I can do better than that. A reactive person will say, there's nothing I can do. Whereas a proactive person will say, let's look at all our options. A reactive person will say, I have to. A proactive person will say, I choose to. A reactive person will say, I can't. A proactive person will say, there's got to be a way. A reactive person will say, you ruined my day. Whereas a proactive person will say, I'm not going to let your bad mood rub off on me. Alright. Moving on. A serious problem with reactive language is that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. People become reinforced in the paradigm that they are determined and that they produce evidence to support the belief. They feel increasingly victimized and out of control, not in charge of their life or their destiny. They blame outside forces, other people, circumstances, even the stars, for their own situation. Okay, now, when I say determined, a lot of people see that as an asset. However, Covey sort of defines that in a different way. And what he means by that is basically that, okay, things have already been determined. I don't really have any choice in how I'm going to react to this particular situation. I could probably find a better definition right here, right now, by just asking Google. Let's see, Google. Determined 7 habits. Let's see. Right. Well, no, so yeah, that's a little bit too esoteric, I don't think. Yeah, so. But you guys get the idea. Moving on. Which brings us to this notion of act. Once again, we're talking about proactivity. Act or be acted upon. The proactive person acts, whereas the reactive person is acted upon. So there you have proactivity versus reactivity in a nutshell. True independence of character empowers us to act rather than be acted upon. So, taking the initiative. Our basic nature is to act and not be acted upon, as well as enabling us to choose our response to particular circumstances. This empowers us to create circumstances. Taking initiative does not mean being pushy, obnoxious, or aggressive. It does mean recognizing our responsibility to make things happen. Taking initiative is a form of self-empowerment. All right, proactivity defined. Proactivity is the act of intentionally seeking ways to change one's environment rather than waiting to be forced to act. It involves thinking and acting to prepare for, intervene in, or control expected events. Proactive people see their environment as something that can change, see themselves as people who can change that environment, take control and make things happen, take responsibility for their actions and decisions, recognize progress while recognizing the work that still remains. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the big show. It's time for us to part ways. So, until our paths cross again, happy trails, everybody.